The wait's over and everyone's favorite portly plumber is back. Mario has now embarked on his very first hybrid adventure in Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch.
While Odyssey might be the first mainline Mario to appear on a platform that's both a home console and a portable,
it's hardly his first rodeo on a handheld system. In 1989, Nintendo released Super Mario Land, a portable follow-up to the hugely successful Super Mario Bros. For the NES. For me, this little cartridge holds a very special place in my heart.
While my first experience with Mario was playing NES at my cousin's house, and I shared Super Mario World with my little brother,
Super Mario Land was the first Mario game I could call all my own.
Firing this game up now brings back great memories of snow days and long car rides.
Of that Christmas morning where I opened it up with a Game Boy Pocket I no longer own. To be honest, the nostalgia I feel for this game is definitely going to impact my review.
This game has flaws, and I intend to talk about them, but know from the get-go that my history with Mario Land can't help but shade how I experience it today.
To begin, we'll start with the first and most significant measure of any Mario title, the controls.
Super Mario Land is a far cry from the precision platforming of Mario's home console counterparts. His movements here are stiff and sudden. It's not uncommon at all that you'll find yourself making actions you had no intention of, and then blaming the sloppy game mechanics rather than poor play. If you're playing this game on the GameCube player, as I did for this review, one thing that can help is moving from the cramped D-pad of the GameCube to the much more natural feel of using a GBA as the controller.
To be honest though, that still doesn't solve the fact that Mario's movements in the game are clunky.
Whether you're playing on the big screen or on original hardware, after some practice, you'll come to grips with the controls enough to feel like you have relative control of your character.
Even then, it's never going to be a completely fluid experience. The controls just aren't that tight.
Luckily, the game places enough coins and extra lives around to make up for any missteps the controls might cause you.
Which brings us to our next measurement, difficulty.
Super Mario Land is not difficult. In fact, it's downright easy. In addition to sprinkling lots of coins and power-ups around the levels, there isn't a lot of precise platforming required. And those bits that do require some skill can generally be bypassed or simply help you get further ahead if you're up for the challenge. Boss battles are pretty breezy as well, and you get an opportunity to add more lives after each one, to help out with later levels where the game does start to test you a little more. All this isn't to say that it's impossible to lose lives. As just stated, the later levels begin to present more hurdles here and there, and the controls ensure there's always a risk that a jump could go the wrong way. But overall, it's fair to say that even new players should be able to beat the game altogether, given a few swings at it.
Even as a child, at a time when I wasn't beating many games at all, I completed Super Mario Land, and I did so frequently.
After beating the game once in a sitting though, your second playthrough gets more interesting. Levels are now populated with more enemies, from various parts of the game, and enemy placement is odd enough to add a new level of challenge not found in the first run through.
I played through Super Mario Land 3 times for this review, and that's a testament not just to the ease of the game, but also how fun it is to play. If this game weren't fun at all, I would have played through just enough to get the footage I needed for this video.
That was definitely the case when I reviewed Judge Dredd for the Sega Genesis. I didn't even bother finishing that title. Super Mario Land, I had to pry myself away from multiple playthroughs so that I could actually get to cutting this review together.
So far we've established that Super Mario Land has clunky controls that get somewhat better with practice, and that it's easy but enjoyable. Now it's time to address the elephant in the room. How well does Mario Land stack up against the rest of the franchise?
Purely as a platformer, it's already been said that this game is one of the clunkier titles in the franchise. From an innovation standpoint, later entries in the Mario Land series would also push more boundaries. Having said that, it would be unfair to the talented team behind Super Mario Land to ignore what this game adds to the Mario canon. Its best contributions come in the form of original story and character content. The game features a new princess, new kingdoms, and a few new gameplay mechanics to boot. The various enemies Mario stomps into oblivion are also mostly different than those we've seen before or even after Super Mario Land. And we get to pilot several vehicles in this game that switch up the standard Mario gameplay formula. The graphics are simple, but they do a decent job of conveying the game's art direction. One thing I do have to point out though, that Mario sprite. This little guy's packing quite the power mullet, to the point where even Nintendo cut some pixels for the home screen version. This Mario almost harkens back to the sleazy creeper we saw featured in the days of Donkey Kong.
A personal high point for me is the music featured in each kingdom.
These tunes are incredibly catchy, and are impressive for the Game Boy's limited soundscape. The sound effects, on the other hand, they could use a little work.
Overall, there's enough new content in Super Mario Land to give the game its own unique personality, and to keep players coming back, despite the fact that it's outperformed as a platformer by many of the other Mario titles. Yes, my view of the game is obscured by childhood memories, and the next two installments of the Land franchise do break more ground, but there are few games that give me as much pure enjoyment as Super Mario Land for the Game Boy. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Have a good one.